Before the forgers ever sat at the same table, there was only a spy. A man living behind masks, chasing peace through lies and missions. Operation Strix was supposed to be just another assignment. Create a fake family, get close to a target, protect the world from the shadows. Then came a little girl who could hear what no one dared to say. A child who looked at him and saw something more than a disguise. And somewhere else, a woman living in silence, hiding her true self to survive. 3 people, each pretending for their own reasons, about to create something none of them expected. A family. There's something quietly painful about Spy Family that not everyone talks about, I think. On the surface, it's funny, lighthearted. A spy, an assassin, and a telepath pretending to be a normal family. But somewhere underneath all that charm, there's this ache. A kind of longing that hides between the smiles. And I think that's what hooked me the first time I watched it. Not the comedy, not the missions, but that small invisible thread connecting 3 people who were never supposed to meet, yet somehow found something they didn't know they were missing. The first half of Season 1 carries that emotional spark. We see Loid reading a parenting book, stating out a line that says, "Nurture their self-esteem to give them a better future." He doesn't even realize it yet, but those words hit too close to home. Because Loid hates the sound of crying children. Not because it's annoying, but because it reminds him of his younger self. A little boy who cried for help in a world that never answered. A child who was powerless, forgotten, and left behind. And so he became a spy, to build a world where no child has to cry the way he once did. When he meets Anya, the goal doesn't stop being a mission, but it starts feeling like something real, something personal. Every small victory, from passing exams to surviving interviews, Loid starts learning to trust again. Yor, on the other hand, carries her own kind of loneliness. She's built her whole life on sacrifice, on doing what she must for someone else. But for the first time, she's not killing for duty. She's pretending to be a mother, and without realizing it, she becomes one. There's that one beautiful moment when she tells Loid that it might be worth it to praise her for the smallest things. It's such a simple line, but it hits deep. Because Yor, the woman who hides her blood-stained hands, is learning the language of gentleness. And through it all, the show keeps whispering this quiet truth. Everyone has a side they don't show anyone else. To their friends, to their families, and to their lovers. We all wear masks to survive the peace we think we're protecting. But what Spy Family shows us is that sometimes the lie becomes the bridge to something honest. Sometimes pretending to be a family is how you start becoming one. And then comes the second half of the season. Things starts to slow down. The emotional weight softens, replaced by lighter, more comedic moments. Cooking episodes, small misunderstandings, bits of jealousy. It's easy to feel like that spark, that feeling of connection, fades a little here. It almost feels like the story forgot what it made it special. Rewatching it again, I realized something. Maybe that's the point. Families aren't always built on big emotional discoveries. They're built in the quiet, ordinary days. In burnt meals, in awkward silences, in the moments that don't make headlines. That the second half feels less like a drop in emotion and more like what happens after the confession. After the tears, after the big realization. It's the slow work of staying together. This one line of Loid to Yor, putting on an act all the time can be tiring. It's simple, almost casual, but it says everything. Because they're both acting. A spy pretending to be a husband and a father, an assassin pretending to be a wife and a mother. But behind those smiles and fake conversations, there's exhaustion. Not just from the mission, but from hiding their true selves for so long. That one moment, that one line breaks the illusion for a second. And just for a second, the pretending stops feeling like pretending. Two people who are tired, not of each other, but of the weight they carry. And maybe for that brief second, they start to understand one another. When you really think about it, Spy Family doesn't end its first season with a big emotional finale. Because families don't end that way either. They just keep going. And in those quieter moments, you see the small things that prove the bond is still there. Yours nervous laugh as she tries to cook a proper meal. Loid's exhaustion but also his soft patience. Anya's innocent joy just being with them. Little gestures that don't need grand declarations. The fake families stop being fake. Not because they admitted to it, but because they started living it. Thinking about it now, maybe the emotional weight didn't fade. It just changed form. At first, the show hits you hard with loneliness and longing. Then it lets the pain settle down, lets it grow into something more human. Comfort, acceptance, and belonging. Because Spy Family isn't just finding family. It's about learning how to deserve one. Loid, Yor, and Anya each carry their own kind of guilt. But when they sit at the dinner table, when they laugh over something silly, those cracks start to heal. It's like the show is quietly telling us that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. Sometimes it's just a meal shared, a smile held, a home that feels less empty than it used to. And if you've seen or heard about Season 2, you'll notice that emotional thread starts to move again. This time through Yor. Her arc takes that quiet struggle, the doubt, the guilt, the need to be feel worthy of love, and brings it back into focus. It's the same heartbeat from the first episodes, but now seen through her eyes, her perspective. Because while Loid learns what it means to care for someone, Yor learns what it means to be cared for. She's no longer just protecting others, she's learning how to be protected. And that completes the cycle of what Spy Family is really all about. It's not about perfection, it's about people who were broken by the world trying to make something whole together. Even if it started as a lie. When I first started watching, I thought I was in for a story about spies, assassins, secrets, and action. But I stayed for the moments that felt real. A little girl's laughter, a mother's quiet smile, a father's promise that no child will have to cry again. And maybe that's what makes Spy Family special. It doesn't give us a perfect family, it gives us a possible one. A reminder that love doesn't have to be pure, or honest, or planned. Sometimes it just needs to start somewhere. Because even before your family began as a mission, they've become a reason. A reason to keep going. A reason to heal. A reason to believe that even in a world built on lies, love can still be true. Thank you for watching until the end. Thank you.